Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching the massive alien ship that had appeared 3 hours ago. The vessel was unlike anything humans had ever built. It looked like a giant crystal wrapped in metal, spinning slowly as it hung in space near Earth's moon. "Sir, we're getting another transmission," said Lieutenant Sophie Walsh from her communication station. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and fear that everyone on the station shared. Jake nodded and walked over to the main control room. Dr. Lisa Barnes was already there, studying the strange symbols that kept appearing on their screens. She was Earth's best expert on alien languages, though until today that had been purely theoretical work. "Can you understand any of it?" Jake asked. Lisa pushed her glasses up her nose and frowned at the display. "It's trying to be English, but the grammar is all wrong. And there are these chemical signals mixed in with the radio waves. I think they communicate with smells as well as sounds." The alien message had been repeating for hours now. The basic meaning was clear enough, even with the broken translation. Someone wanted to talk to Earth's leaders. They claimed to represent something called the Galactic Council. "Admiral Morrison," came a voice from behind them. Captain Ben Carter had just arrived from the docking bay where his ship, the EDF Retribution, was waiting. "The President wants us to establish formal contact. Are we ready?" Jake looked around the room at his team. They had trained for first contact scenarios, but no amount of training could prepare them for the real thing. "As ready as we'll ever be. Lisa, can you set up a proper communication channel?" Dr. Barnes nodded and began working at her console. "I think I can create a translation program. It won't be perfect, but it should help us understand each other." 2 hours later, the main screen flickered to life. The image that appeared made several people in the room step backward. The alien was tall, at least 7 feet, with a body that looked like it was made of living crystal. Its skin had a blue-green shine that reflected the lights around it. 4 arms moved constantly, and where a human would have eyes, there were clusters of smaller crystal formations that seemed to glow from within. "Greetings, primitive beings of the third planet," the alien said. Its voice came through the speakers with a mechanical tone, but underneath they could hear clicking sounds and what sounded like music. "I am Ambassador Zixtela of the Galactic Council. We have traveled far to bring you an important message." Jake stepped forward, trying to keep his voice steady. "Welcome to our solar system, Ambassador. I am Admiral Jake Morrison, representing Earth's governments. We are honored by your visit." The alien's head tilted in what might have been confusion. "Honor is not the correct emotion, primitive one. You should feel fear and respect. The Galactic Council does not visit systems to exchange pleasantries." Dr. Barnes whispered to Jake. "The chemical readings are showing what I think might be superiority pheromones. This being believes it's much more important than us." Ambassador Zixtela continued speaking, its 4 arms moving in complex patterns. "Your species has recently achieved faster-than-light travel. This advancement has brought you to the attention of the Council. We have watched your world for some time, and what we have seen disturbs us greatly." The alien paused, and one of its arms pointed directly at the camera. "Humans are violent creatures. You wage war constantly upon your own kind. You destroy the environment that supports your life. You create weapons of mass destruction and threaten to use them. Such behavior cannot be allowed to spread beyond your home system." Jake felt his anger rising but kept his voice calm. "Ambassador, while humanity has had conflicts in our past, we have also shown great capacity for cooperation and peace. We would welcome the chance to prove this to the Galactic Council." "Proof is unnecessary," Zixtela replied. "We have observed 847 species over the past 50,000 years. All showed similar patterns of violence and aggression in their early development. The Council has learned that containment is the only solution." The alien's lower 2 arms reached for something off-screen and produced a device that projected holographic images into the air. Jake and his team watched as pictures of various alien worlds appeared, showing cities, spaceships, and beings of many different shapes and sizes. These species now live peacefully under Council guidance, Zixthala explained. They have accepted their place in the galactic community and no longer pose a threat to themselves or others. The same opportunity is being offered to humanity. Dr. Barnes leaned closer to her instruments. The chemical readings were becoming more complex. Underneath the superiority sense, she was detecting something else. Something that smelled like fear. What exactly are you offering us? Jake asked. Ambassador Zixthala's crystal formations seemed to dim slightly. It is not an offer, it is a requirement. Humanity will accept the following conditions or face immediate annihilation. The holographic display changed to show a list of rules written in both alien symbols and broken English. Jake read them with growing disbelief. No human military vessels were allowed beyond the asteroid belt. No colonies could be established on other worlds. Certain technologies, including advanced weapons and faster-than-light drives, had to be abandoned. Most insulting of all, the Galactic Council would establish monitoring stations throughout the solar system to ensure compliance. You're asking us to become prisoners in our own solar system, Jake said. We are offering you survival, Zixthala replied. Species that refuse these terms are eliminated quickly and efficiently. The choice is yours, but the decision must be made soon. Captain. Carter stepped forward. What gives the Galactic Council the right to make these demands? The alien's crystal formations flared brighter. Right comes from power, primitive one. The Council controls this galaxy. We have weapons that can destroy your star, making your entire system uninhabitable. We have fleets of ships that number in the millions. Resistance is not just futile, it is impossible. Dr. Barnes noticed that the fear scent was getting stronger. Whatever was making this powerful alien afraid was not in this room. There was something else, something the Council wasn't telling them about. We will need time to present your message to our world leaders, Jake said carefully. This is not a decision one person can make for all of humanity, Ambassador Zixthala considered this. You have 30 of your planetary rotations to provide an answer. Do not attempt to leave your system during this time. Council ships are watching, and will prevent any such attempts. The alien leaned closer to the camera. Understand this clearly, Admiral Morrison. The Galactic Council has never failed to bring order to a system. Every species eventually accepts their place or ceases to exist. Your outcome will be no different. The transmission ended, leaving Jake and his team staring at a blank screen. The silence in the room stretched on until Captain Carter finally spoke. Well, that could have gone better. Dr. Barnes was still studying her readings. Admiral, there's something wrong here. That alien was afraid of something, but not us. The chemical signatures don't lie. The Council is scared, but they're not scared of humanity. Jake turned to look at her. What do you think they're scared of? I don't know, but I think we need to find out before we give them any answer. Something tells me there's more to this story than they're willing to share. Jake nodded and looked out at the alien ship still hanging in space near the moon. In 30 days, humanity would have to give an answer that would determine their future. But first, they needed to understand what the Galactic Council was really afraid of, and why they needed so many species under their control. Sophie, get me a direct line to the President, he said, and then connect me with every major world leader. We have a lot of talking to do. As the team began making preparations for the most important conversation in human history, none of them noticed the small devices that had been quietly attached to their station during the alien visit. The Galactic Council was indeed watching. But they were not the only ones interested in humanity's response to the warning. The emergency meeting room in Geneva had never seen anything like this. Leaders from every major nation sat around the massive circular table, their faces showing a mix of fear, anger, and confusion. Above them, holographic displays showed the alien ship still waiting near Earth's moon. President Johnson spoke first. We've all seen the recording of the alien contact. The question now is simple. Do we surrender our freedom or fight an enemy we cannot possibly defeat? The Chinese premier leaned forward. The alien was very clear about their capabilities. They claim to have weapons that can destroy our sun. How do we fight against that kind of power? We don't know if they're telling the truth, said the British Prime Minister. Throughout history, bullies have always made themselves seem stronger than they really are. Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the front of the room next to a large screen. Before we make any decisions, there's information you need to see. General Hughes, would you brief them on Project Deep Sky? General Frank Hughes walked to the podium. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. For the past 10 years, we've been developing technologies that go far beyond what the public knows about. He pressed a button and the screen showed images of sleek spacecraft unlike anything the public had ever seen. These are Earth Defense Force vessels. We have 12 of them operational, with more being built. They use a propulsion system we call dimensional folding. Instead of traveling through space, they fold space around themselves. The French president looked skeptical. You're saying we have spaceships that can travel faster than light. Why weren't we informed? Because we weren't sure they would work, Hughes replied. And because we detected something in deep space that made us think we might need them someday. Dr. Alex Stone stepped forward. He was a thin man with wild hair, who looked like he hadn't slept in days. For the past 5 years, our deep space monitors have been picking up energy signatures from the galactic core. Massive battles are being fought out there. The peaceful Galactic Council that just threatened us appears to be at war with someone. The room erupted in surprised voices. The German Chancellor raised her hand for quiet. Are you saying this? Council lied to us about galactic peace? We believe so, Stone continued. The energy patterns we're detecting suggest weapons being fired on a scale that defies imagination. Entire star systems are being affected. Whatever the Council is fighting, it's big enough to threaten them despite all their claimed power. Commander. Amy Rodriguez moved to stand beside Dr. Stone. She was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a military bearing. We've analyzed every piece of data we could gather about the Council and their member species. The pattern is always the same. A species develops faster than light travel, the Council makes contact, and then that species never explores beyond their local area again. She activated a new display showing a map of the galaxy. Look at this. Every Council member species is concentrated in the outer rim of the galaxy. The inner regions, where the battles are taking place, are completely empty of their ships. They're not expanding inward. They're running away from something. Admiral Morrison stepped back to the podium. Dr. Barnes made another important observation during the contact. The alien ambassador was afraid, not of us, but of something else. The chemical analysis proved it. The Japanese Prime Minister spoke up. So, you believe the Council is trying to recruit us as soldiers for a war they're losing? Or as a buffer zone, Rodriguez answered. Think about it. They want to control our military, limit our technology, and keep us confined to our solar system. That doesn't sound like they're afraid of us conquering the galaxy. It sounds like they want us to stay put and fight whatever's coming from the galactic center. President Johnson drummed his fingers on the table. Even if that's true, what can we do about it? They still have superior numbers and technology. Dr. Stone smiled for the first time since entering the room. Actually, they might not. Our dimensional folding technology works completely differently from their hyperspace drives. We've been monitoring their ship, and it uses technology that's actually less advanced than what we've developed. How is that possible? Asked the Russian president. Because they've been stagnant, Hughes explained. When you control hundreds of species and face no real competition, you stop innovating. We've been pushing the boundaries of physics for decades because we had to. They've been using the same technology for thousands of years because it was good enough. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Finally, the Brazilian president spoke. So what are you proposing? That we tell them no and hope our 12 ships can fight off their millions? Admiral Morrison looked around the table. At each leader, we propose something different, something they won't expect. He pressed a control and the display changed to show a document. Instead of refusing their demands or accepting them, we thank them for the warning and offer to help them with their real problem. The Italian Prime Minister blinked in confusion. Help them? How? By being honest about what we see, Morrison explained. We acknowledge their message, express gratitude for being warned about galactic dangers, and offer humanitarian aid and military assistance to help the Council deal with their current challenges. Commander Rodriguez stepped forward again. The beauty of this approach is that it bypasses their entire framework. They're prepared for us to either submit or rebel. They're not prepared for us to treat them as allies who need help. And if they refuse our help, asked the Canadian Prime Minister, then we learn more about their real situation, Dr. Barnes said, entering the conversation for the first time. Their response will tell us whether they're truly interested in peace or just looking for more bodies to throw at their enemy. General Hughes brought up another display. We've also been working on defensive measures. If they do decide to attack, we're not as helpless as they think. Our orbital defense platforms have been disguised as communication satellites in space stations. We can make any invasion very costly. The South Korean president leaned back in her chair. This is incredibly risky. If we guess wrong about their intentions, they could destroy our world. They could destroy our world anyway, Morrison replied. The difference is whether we face that destruction as free people trying to help others or as slaves who gave up, without even trying to understand the real situation. Dr. Stone activated a new screen showing complex mathematical equations. There's something else. Our analysis of the deep space energy signatures suggests that whatever the Council is fighting is moving in this direction. Whether we join them or not, we're going to face this threat eventually. It's better to face it with allies, even reluctant ones, than alone. President Johnson stood up. Admiral Morrison, Dr. Barnes, I want you to draft our response. Make it polite, respectful, and completely unexpected. If the Council is looking for help, we'll offer it. If they're looking for victims, they'll find we're not as easy to victimize as they think. The meeting continued for several more hours as details were worked out. The response would be transmitted in 48 hours, giving Earth's leaders time to prepare for any reaction. As the world leaders filed out of the room, Dr. Barnes walked over to Admiral Morrison. Do you really think this will work? Morrison looked up at the display, still showing the alien ship near the moon. I think it's our best chance. The Council expects us to react with fear or anger. Instead, we're going to react with curiosity, compassion. If that doesn't confuse them enough to make mistakes, nothing will. 2 days later, Lieutenant Sophie Walsh sat at her communication station, preparing to send the most important message in human history. The response had been translated into the alien language as best they could manage, with Dr. Barnes working around the clock to get the pheromone signals right. Are you ready, Sophie? Admiral Morrison asked. She nodded and pressed the transmission button. Across space, Earth's reply began its journey to the Galactic Council. Thank you for your warning about the dangers we face. Earth offers its friendship and assistance in meeting the challenges that threaten all free peoples of the galaxy. Now they would wait to see if the Council would accept humanity's help, or if they would reveal their true intentions through force. Either way, Earth had chosen to meet the unknown with open hands rather than closed fists. Nexus Prime was the largest structure ever built by intelligent beings. The massive space station sat at the heart of the galaxy, its metal corridors stretching for thousands of miles in every direction. Millions of different species called it home, all working together under the guidance of the Galactic Council. High Counselor Vexinar floated in his chair at the center of the great assembly hall. He was older than most civilizations, his body a collection of energy patterns held together by technology that few understood. Around him, representatives from hundreds of worlds argued in dozens of languages about the message that had just arrived from Earth. This is impossible, declared Counselor Threx, a reptilian being whose scales changed color as he spoke. In 50,000 years, no primitive species has ever offered to help us. They beg for mercy or threaten us with their tiny weapons. they do not offer aid. Ambassador Zixtala stood at the center of the hall, her crystal body reflecting the lights from above. The humans are unlike any species we have encountered, High Counselor. They seem to lack the proper fear response that keeps other species manageable. Counselor Morpheus, a gaseous being that spoke through vibrations in the air, made a sound that might have been laughter. Fear response? They should be terrified. We told them we could destroy their star. Instead, they send us a thank you note. That is exactly what concerns me, Vexinar replied, his voice echoing through the hall. They thanked us for warning them about galactic dangers. How do they know about the dangers we face? The hall fell silent. This was the question that had been troubling the Council since Earth's message arrived. Somehow, the humans had detected what the Council had spent centuries trying to hide. Counselor Yeth, a being that looked like living metal, spoke up. Our scouts report that the humans have been monitoring deep space for decades. They may have detected energy signatures from our battles with the swarm. At the mention of the swarm, several counselors made sounds of distress. It was a name they rarely spoke aloud. Even here in the safety of Nexus Prime. High Counselor Vexinar activated a holographic display in the center of the hall. The image showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of red dots marking locations where battles had been fought. For 200 years, we have been fighting a war that we are slowly losing. The void swarm consumes everything in its path, converting matter into more of itself. The display zoomed in on the galactic core, showing vast empty spaces where star systems had once existed. We have lost 3 major defensive lines. 17 member species have been completely consumed. The swarm learns from every battle, adapting its tactics and growing stronger. Ambassador Zixtala's crystal formations dimmed with sadness. My own homeworld was in the 2nd defensive line. I watched from orbit as the swarm ships landed and began converting our cities into more of themselves. The screams of my people, as they were transformed, still echo in my dreams. Counselor Threx's scales turned a deep purple, the color of grief among his species. We have tried everything. Conventional weapons, energy barriers, even collapsing entire star systems to stop their advance. Nothing works for long. They adapt, overcome, and continue consuming. Which is why we need more member species, Counselor Morpheus said. Every new civilization we bring into the Council provides more resources, more ships, more soldiers to throw at the swarm. High Counselor Vexinar nodded slowly. The strategy has been sound. Gather as many species as possible under our protection, use their combined strength to build new defensive lines, and hope that eventually we find a way to stop the swarm permanently. But the humans detected our deception, Yeth observed. They know we are not the peaceful alliance we pretend to be. They know we are desperate. Zixtala moved closer to the display. There is something else, High Counselor. The humans' technology is more advanced than our initial scans suggested. Their ships use a form of faster-than-light travel that we have never encountered. They call it dimensional folding. This caused another stir among the assembled counselors. New technology was rare in the galaxy, especially among primitive species. How advanced? Vexinar asked. Unknown, Zixtala admitted. But their ship appeared at the edge of their solar system without any of the energy signatures we associate with hyperspace jumps. They may have found a completely different way to travel between stars. Counselor Threx's scales turned orange with excitement. If their technology is truly unique, it might be exactly what we need against the swarm. New approaches, new weapons, new ways of thinking about the problem. Or it might be too dangerous to allow, Morpheus countered. A species with unknown technology and no fear of the Council could become a greater threat than the swarm itself. The debate that followed was fierce. Some counselors argued for immediate military action against Earth, striking before the humans could develop their technology further. Others wanted to reveal the truth about the swarm and asked for Earth's help directly. High Counselor Vexinar listened to all sides before making his decision. We will test them. If the humans truly want to help, we will give them a chance to prove it. but we will not reveal the full extent of our situation until we know whether they can be trusted." Meanwhile, far from the council chambers, another conversation was taking place. In the depths of Nexus Prime, Lieutenant Sophie Walsh worked at a computer terminal that should not have existed. She was not supposed to be on the station, and the equipment she was using was not supposed to be there. Earth's intelligence services had been busy since the first contact. While the council watched the obvious human activities, they had missed the small probe that had attached itself to Ambassador Zixila's ship. The probe had followed the ship back to Nexus Prime and was now transmitting everything it could. "Detect." Sophie's fingers moved quickly across the keyboard as she intercepted council communications. The translation software that Dr. Barnes had developed was working better than expected, turning the alien languages into readable English. "Admiral Morrison, are you receiving this?" She whispered into her hidden communicator. "Back on Earth, Jake." Morrison sat in the secure command center deep beneath the Pentagon. "We're getting it all, Sophie. Keep transmitting." The intercepted communications painted a terrifying picture. The Galactic Council was not the powerful alliance they pretended to be. They were refugees running from an enemy that had already consumed a third of the galaxy. Dr. Alex Stone looked up from his analysis of the data. "The energy signatures we detected make sense now. The swarm isn't just at war with the Council. It's winning, and it's heading this way." Commander Amy Rodriguez studied the tactical displays. According to these intercepts, the swarm reaches each new defensive line within 50 to 70 years. If they break through the Council's current positions, they'll be in our galactic sector within 50 years. General Frank Hughes shook his head. "Whether we join the Council or not, we're going to face this enemy eventually. The question is whether we face it alone or with allies." Admiral Morrison stood up and walked to the main display. "There's something else to consider. The Council has been fighting this war for 200 years using conventional tactics. They keep doing the same things and expecting different results. And that's not working," Dr. Stone added. "Every defensive line they build gets overrun. Every weapon they deploy gets adapted to. They need new ideas, new approaches." "They need humans," Rodriguez said quietly. Morrison nodded. "They need people who don't know that something is impossible. People who will try crazy ideas because they haven't been told they won't work." The communication from Sophie came through again. "Admiral, I'm picking up orders being transmitted to the Council fleet. They're mobilizing ships from across the galaxy. It looks like they're planning something big. Can you tell what?" "Not yet, but there are references to compliance enforcement and containment protocols. I think they're planning to force Earth to join them." Morrison walked back to his chair and sat down heavily. "How long do we have?" "Based on the ship movements. I'm tracking maybe 72 hours. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. In 3 days, the Galactic Council would likely arrive at Earth with a fleet large enough to enforce their demands. Earth would have to choose between submission and a war they could not win. "Unless," Morrison said slowly, "we give them something they don't expect." "What do you mean?" Hughes asked. Morrison smiled grimly. "We give them exactly what they want, but not in the way they expect it. If they want Earth's help fighting the swarm, we'll help them. But we'll do it our way, with our technology and according to our principles. And if they refuse, then we'll find out just how desperate they really are." Captain Ben Carter sat in the command chair of the EDF Retribution, watching his tactical display with growing concern. 200 alien ships had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, their weapons powered and ready for battle. "Admiral Morrison, we have a problem," he said into his communicator. "The Council fleet is 3 times larger than our intelligence suggested." From his command center on Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison studied the same display. The Council ships were arranged in a perfect battle formation, moving steadily toward Earth. Their intent was clear. "All Earth Defense Force ships, this is Admiral Morrison. Take your positions and prepare for combat. Remember, we disable, we don't destroy. These people might become our allies if we handle this right." Across the solar system, 12 human warships moved to intercept the alien fleet. Hidden bases on the Moon, Mars, and several asteroids revealed themselves. Their weapon systems coming online for the first time. Ambassador Zixella stood on the bridge of the Council flagship, watching the human ships approach. They have more vessels than our scouts reported, High Counselor. And their technology signatures are unlike anything in our database. High Counselor Vexinar's energy form flickered with annoyance. 12 ships against 200. Even with unknown technology, they cannot hope to win. Signal them to surrender immediately. Lieutenant Sophie Walsh received the transmission at her station aboard the Retribution. Captain Carter, they're demanding our immediate surrender. They say if we power down our weapons and accept counsel, control, no harm will come to Earth. Carter looked at his crew, seeing determination in every face. Tell them we appreciate their concern for our safety, but we must respectfully decline their generous offer. The alien response was swift. Energy. Beams lanced out from the Council ships, targeting the human vessels with weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. The Council wanted humans alive to serve in their war against the swarm, but the beams passed harmlessly through empty space. The human ships had vanished. Where did they go? Counselor Threx demanded from his position on another Council ship. Before anyone could answer, the EDF Retribution materialized directly behind the Council flagship. Its weapons fired precisely, disabling the larger ship's engines and weapon systems in seconds. Then it vanished again. Captain Carter smiled as his ship folded space around itself, reappearing near a group of Council cruisers. The Council fights like they're still in the old days, he told his crew. Line battles, predictable formations, weapons that can't hit what they can't see coming. Human tactics were completely different. Instead of forming battle lines, the Earth ships appeared randomly throughout the Council fleet. They would materialize, fire at critical systems, and disappear before the aliens could respond. Commander Amy Rodriguez watched the battle from the Lunar Command Center. The Council ships are trying to adapt, but they're too slow. Their captains have been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Dr. Lisa Barnes monitored alien communications from her station. The chemical readings from their ships are showing massive confusion and fear. They've never faced anything like this before. Within 2 hours, half the Council fleet was disabled. Their ships floated helplessly in space, weapons offline, and engines dead. The human vessels continued their hit-and-run attacks, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted effectively. Ambassador Zixtala found herself trapped aboard the disabled flagship as human soldiers materialized on the bridge. They appeared through some kind of portal device, wearing advanced armor and carrying weapons she didn't recognize. Ambassador, said the lead human soldier, removing his helmet to reveal a kind face. I'm Colonel Mike Davis. We're here to ensure your safety while our ships finish securing the area. Zixtala's crystal formations flashed with confusion. You're taking prisoners? We're taking guests, Davis replied. Admiral Morrison wants to have a proper conversation with your leadership. One where everyone can speak honestly about the real threats we all face. The battle was effectively over, but the real shock came when long-range sensors detected new energy signatures approaching from deep space. Dr. Alex. Stone's voice echoed through every human ship and base. All stations, this is Dr. Stone. We have 3 massive objects approaching from the direction of the galactic core. Energy signatures match the profiles we've been tracking. The swarm is here. On the main display, 3 enormous shapes appeared at the edge of the solar system. Each was the size of a small moon, covered in writhing mechanical tentacles that seemed to be alive. As they moved, they consumed asteroids and space debris, converting the matter into more of themselves. Captain Carter stared at the display in horror. Those things are huge. How do we fight something like that? Admiral Morrison's voice came through the communication system. All human ships, change of mission. We now have a common enemy. All Council prisoners are to be released immediately, and offered full cooperation against the swarm threat. Colonel Davis looked at Ambassador Zixtala. Ambassador, it looks like we're going to need each other after all. The alien's crystal body dimmed with fear. You do not understand. The swarm cannot be stopped. We have tried for 200 years. They adapt to every weapon, overcome every defense. Maybe, Davis replied. But you've never had humans helping you before. On the bridge of the Council flagship, High Counselor Vexinar watched the approaching swarm ships with despair. How did they find us so quickly? Our defensive lines were supposed to hold them for another 50 years. Dr. Barnes, now aboard the flagship as part of the human diplomatic team, studied the readings from the swarm vessels. The energy from our battle must have attracted them. But there's something else. These readings don't match what we expected from pure machine intelligence. Admiral Morrison joined the conversation via hologram. What do you mean, Lisa? The energy patterns are too complex, too organic. These aren't just machines. There's something biological mixed in with the mechanical components. Ambassador Zixthala moved closer to the display. That is impossible. The swarm are pure artificial intelligence. They consume organic matter and convert it to mechanical systems. Are you sure about that? Dr. Barnes asked. Have you ever captured and studied swarm technology up close? The silence that followed was telling. High Counselor Vexinar finally spoke. Capturing swarm units intact has proven impossible. They self-destruct when faced with certain defeat. So you've been fighting an enemy for 2 centuries without really understanding what they are, Morrison observed. That might explain why your defensive strategies keep failing. The first swarm ship reached the asteroid belt and began consuming the rocky bodies there. As they watched, metallic tendrils reached out from the main vessel, wrapping around asteroids and pulling them inside. Within minutes, new sections appeared on the ship's hull, growing like living tissue. Captain Carter maneuvered the Retribution closer to get better sensor readings. Admiral, I'm detecting thousands of individual life signs inside that thing. But they're not organic anymore. They've been altered somehow. Dr. Stone's voice came through with excitement and horror. Running the biosignatures through our database. Some of these readings match species in the Council records. Species that were supposedly destroyed by the swarm decades ago. The implications hit everyone at the same time. Ambassador Zixthala made a sound of anguish that translated across. Species barriers. They are not destroying us. They are converting us. The swarm is made up of the species they have conquered. High Counselor Vexinar's energy form flickered wildly. Impossible. We have seen the destruction of entire worlds. No, Dr. Barnes said quietly. You've seen the conversion of entire worlds. The people aren't dead. They're still in there, turned into parts of the swarm. Admiral Morrison studied the tactical display showing the 3 approaching swarm ships. This changes everything. We're not fighting machines. We're fighting enslaved populations that have been forced to become part of a collective consciousness. Colonel Davis looked at the aliens and humans around him. So how do we free them? I don't know, Morrison admitted. But I know we have to try. The question is, can we work together to find a way? Ambassador Zixthala looked at the human admiral, then at her own people, then back at the approaching nightmare that had consumed so much of the galaxy. High Counselor, I request permission to share all our tactical data with the humans. If they are right about the nature of the swarm, then everything we thought we knew about this war is wrong. Vexinar was quiet for a long moment. Then his energy form stabilized into a more focused pattern. Permission granted. Admiral Morrison, the Galactic Council formally requests Earth's assistance in fighting the swarm, not as subjects but as equals. Accepted, Morrison replied. Now let's figure out how to save a galaxy. The 3 swarm ships were moving deeper into the solar system. Heading directly for Earth, the combined human and council fleets moved to intercept them, but nobody knew if their weapons would be effective against an enemy that had adapted to everything the galaxy could throw at them. What they did know was that for the first time in 200 years, the swarm was facing something it had never encountered before. Human ingenuity backed by desperate hope and the determination to save not just their own world. The space between Jupiter and Saturn had become a battlefield unlike any in galactic history. 3 massive swarm ships, each the size of a small moon, faced a combined fleet of human and council vessels. The odds were terrible, but for the first time in 200 years, the swarm was facing an enemy that refused to give up. Dr. Alex Stone worked frantically in his laboratory aboard the lunar base, surrounded by screens showing data from the swarm ships. Admiral Morrison, I think I understand how the conversion process works. The swarm doesn't just turn organic beings into machines. It traps their consciousness inside mechanical bodies while keeping their minds connected to a central control system. Admiral Jake Morrison watched the tactical display from his command center. The human and council ships were holding their own, but barely. Can we reverse the process? Maybe, Stone replied. But I need to get closer to one of those ships. We need to study the conversion technology from the inside. Captain Ben Carter's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, the retribution can get you close. Our dimensional folding should let us get inside one of those things before they know we're there. Dr. Lisa Barnes looked up from her own research station. I'm coming with you, Alex. If we're right about the consciousness issue, we'll need someone who understands alien psychology. Absolutely not, Morrison said firmly. It's too dangerous. Sir, with respect, this is what I trained for, Barnes replied. First contact with alien minds. If those people are still aware inside the swarm, someone needs to be able to communicate with them. 20 minutes later, the Retribution folded space around itself and materialized inside the cargo bay of the largest swarm ship. The interior was a nightmare of organic and mechanical parts twisted together. Walls that looked like living tissue pulsed with mechanical rhythms. Cables that resembled blood vessels carried electrical current instead of fluid. Captain Carter led a team of soldiers through the corridors while Dr. Stone and Dr. Barnes set up their equipment. This place gives me the creeps, muttered Sergeant Tom Phillips, keeping his weapon ready. Stay focused, Carter replied. We're here to gather information, not fight. Though, if something tries to convert us, feel free to shoot it. They found what they were looking for in a chamber deep inside the ship. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species were connected to a massive central computer by cables that went directly into their brains. Their bodies had been partially converted to mechanical parts, but their faces still showed signs of consciousness. Dr. Barnes approached one of the connected beings carefully. It had once been similar to Ambassador Zixtella with a crystal body, but now metal wires ran through the crystal formations. Can you hear me? She asked softly, the being's eyes focused on her with difficulty. Help ... It whispered through mechanical vocal cords. Still ... dear. Here. Can't ... control ... duh. Stone's equipment detected massive electrical activity in the creature's brain. Lisa, they're fighting it. The conversion process doesn't destroy their minds. It just controls their bodies. Barnes looked around the chamber at hundreds of trapped beings. How long have they been like this? Decades, came a weak voice from another converted being. Some ... centuries ... but helpless ... bliss. Dr. Stone's hands moved quickly over his equipment. I'm detecting quantum resonance patterns in their neural activity. The control system works by suppressing individual consciousness while amplifying collective signals. Can we break it? Barnes asked. I think so. But we need to understand the quantum mechanics involved. Stone paused, looking at the readings. Wait, this is similar to the dimensional folding principles we use for faster-than-light travel. If consciousness exists in quantum states, then maybe we can use our technology to restore individual awareness. Meanwhile, outside the swarm ship, the battle was getting worse. The alien vessels had adapted to human weapons and were beginning to fight back effectively. Commander Amy Rodriguez watched from the command center as council ships fell under concentrated fire. Admiral, we're losing ships out there, she reported. The swarm is learning our tactics. Morrison nodded grimly. How much time do our people need inside that ship? Dr. Stone says at least another hour. Then we buy them an hour. Morrison opened a channel to all ships, all vessels, new tactics. We're going to keep those swarm ships so busy they won't notice what's happening inside. The combined fleet launched a desperate attack. Human ships used their dimensional folding to appear and disappear around the swarm vessels, while council ships provided continuous fire support. It was like watching ants attack elephants, but the ants refused to quit. Inside the swarm ship, Dr. Stone made a breakthrough. Lisa, I think I can create a liberation field using our dimensional technology. If I can generate the right quantum frequency, it should disrupt the control signals without damaging the organic minds. Barnes was still talking to the converted beings. If we free you, can you help us free the others? The crystal being nodded weakly. Many ships prisoners connected. Break one break all of them. Stone looked up from his equipment. The entire swarm network is connected? Yes, another voice whispered. Collective consciousness. Shared awareness us free everyone. Stone's eyes widened with understanding. Lisa, if we can break the control system on this ship, it might create a cascade effect through the entire swarm network. Every converted being in the galaxy could be freed simultaneously. That's thousands of ships and millions of beings, Barnes said. Exactly, but we have to do it right. If we make a mistake, we could kill them all instead of freeing them. Captain. Carter's voice came through their communicators. Doctors, we have a problem. The swarm has detected our presence. They're sending security forces this way. How long do we have? Stone asked, still working on his equipment. Maybe 10 minutes. Stone's hands moved frantically over his controls. I need to synchronize the liberation field with the quantum patterns of every species in this chamber. Lisa, can you get them to think about their homeworlds, their families, anything that reinforces their individual identities? Dr. Barnes moved through the chamber, speaking to each converted being. Remember who you are? Think about your names, your homes, the people you love. Don't let the collective consciousness win. As she spoke, Stone's equipment detected changes in the quantum patterns. Individual consciousness was getting stronger, fighting against the collective control. It's working, Stone said. But I need more time to calibrate the field properly. The sound of weapon fire echoed through the corridors. Carter's voice came through again. Doctors, we're running out of time. The swarm security forces are almost here. 30 more seconds, Stone replied, making final adjustments to his device. Barnes looked at the converted beings around her. Are you ready? This might hurt, but it's your only chance for freedom, the crystal being managed to smile. Worth any pain b free w the liberation field. Energy rippled out from his device, washing over every converted being in the chamber. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Metal wires sparked and fell away from organic bodies. Mechanical parts shut down and separated from living tissue, but more importantly, the quantum field spread beyond the chamber, beyond the ship, racing through the swarm network at the speed of thought. On the other two swarm ships, similar scenes played out as millions of trapped consciousness suddenly remembered who they were. The change was visible from outside. The swarm ships stopped moving, their weapons powered down. The writhing mechanical tentacles went still. Admiral Morrison watched in amazement as beings began appearing on the hulls of the swarm ships. They were using escape pods, shuttles, anything they could find to get away from the vessels that had been their prisons. Ambassador Zixthala stood beside him, her crystal formations glowing with joy. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from the liberated beings. They're asking for rescue. They want to go home. All ships, new mission, Morrison announced. Rescue operations. Get every survivor off those ships safely. Over the next several hours, the combined human and council fleet worked to evacuate millions of beings from the three swarm ships. Species that had been thought extinct for centuries emerged from their mechanical prisons. Families were reunited. Civilizations thought lost forever were given a chance to rebuild. Dr. Stone and Dr. Barnes returned to the Retribution as heroes. The liberation field had worked perfectly, freeing every converted consciousness in the swarm network across the galaxy. How many do you think we saved? Barnes asked as they watched shuttles carrying rescued beings to safety. Impossible to say exactly, Stone replied. But based on the quantum resonance patterns we detected, probably every being the swarm converted over the past 2,000 years. Entire species, Admiral. We gave them back their lives. High Counselor Vexinar S. energy form appeared as a hologram on the Retribution's bridge. Admiral Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Council and every free being in the galaxy, I thank you. You have accomplished what we could not in 2 centuries of war. Morrison looked out at the former swarm ships, now silent and empty. We didn't do it alone, High Counselor. And we couldn't have done it without understanding what we were really fighting.